Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to cover libraries in SAS. So let me share my screen. Okay, so let's start with our topic, which is types of libraries in SAS. So we all know that SAS is basically statistical analysis system, and there are basically editor window, log window, output window, explorer window, and results window. So in the explorer window, you can see here that there are some libraries. Okay, so we'll try to understand what these libraries are, what type of libraries are present in SAS, and why we use these libraries while working with SAS program. So let's understand the definition. If we talk about library, SAS library is a collection of a dataset table stored in a specific location, like folders on your computer or server. So whenever you are working on your computer or your laptop, let's suppose you create a folder in that particular folder you are keeping your required documents and files that you are going to use while doing some particular work. In the same way, in SAS there are libraries where you can store all your required document, your file folders, and that particular collection of data set is known as libraries. So in libraries there will be what data sets will be present. Okay. So if we talk about libraries, so library contains folder and the data sets are files inside the folder. Now, as you can see, let me give you an example here. Okay, you can see my screen, right? Let's suppose I want to work on a particular data. So I will create a new folder here. I will name it as test data. Okay, I have created this folder and I'll keep all my required document that is necessary for the current work. I'll be keeping it here. It can be Excel file, it can be a Microsoft document, it can be a CVS document, it can be a some software setup or something. Whatever it is, I'll be keeping it here. In SAS, I'll be keeping some data sets. Okay, so as I have told you that data sets have this .SAS extension. Whatever file and folder files have .SAS extension, you will be able to open those particular files in your SAS software. Now, let's understand how many types of libraries are there in SAS. There are basically two types of library in SAS. One is temporary library and second is permanent library. Okay, as the name suggests, one library is temporary and one library is permanent. In temporary library, we have work library, and in permanent library, we have SAS Help and SAS User Library. Okay, we can also create a library here, our own library, we can also create. So in today's session, we'll understand these types of library and their uses and how to create your own library and delete your library by using SAS codes. So if we talk about work library, first of all, let's understand what is a work library. If you open this particular thing, this library, you will find work library, SAS Help Library, and SAS User Library. Okay, forget about these maps and etc. So whenever you are installing your SAS software in your computer, so whenever you are installing a SAS software in your computer, there will be some default library, some default folders. If I tell you in some layman term, some default folders will be present. Whenever you start your computer, your some basic things will be present. For example, my PC, D drive, C drive, all these will be already by default present in your computer. In the same way, whenever you are installing your SAS software, there will be SAS User Library, SAS User, SAS Help, and SAS Work Library. Okay, this work is means it is a SAS Work Library. Okay, now let's understand what is the meaning of a temporary library. Okay, so let's understand there here. Temporary library is created, a default library created automatically by SAS, existing only during the session and deleted when SAS is closed. Okay, so these three things you need to remember, that it is created automatically by SAS, existed only during the session, and it is deleted when you will close your SAS program. Okay, now let's understand how. See, let's suppose you are creating a data. Okay, in the previous session, I have already introduced a little bit about how you are going to create a particular data. In the upcoming session, we'll be covering the input methods. Okay, but let's start with a very basic programming. Okay, let's suppose I'm starting my this data entry. I'm just writing data. Okay, and I am naming my data as XYZ semicolon. So, you know, whenever we are writing a SAS program, we'll start it with a keyword and we'll always end it with a semicolon. Now I'm writing input. Let's suppose I'm writing a roll number, name, and age. Okay. So because it is a character variable, I'm going to add a dollar symbol here so that SAS will be able to read this particular data. So I'll again put a semicolon and I'll put data, lines, or cards statement. I will, let's suppose roll number is 1, Abhi, name of the student is Abhi, and age is 23. 102, Surbi, or whatever name you can give. This is just an example. 103, then TRE, Tret, whatever name you can give. 24, 104 is Alex, 20, and semicolon and run. Okay, so if I execute this particular program, if I'm selecting this particular program, I can execute this particular program from here by clicking on the submit button, or I can directly click F12 on my laptop, my keyboard, and this particular data program will be executed. So let me run this particular program, but before that, I'll open this work library. Okay, so whenever I am selecting and I'm executing this particular program, you can see that there is a data set created here. Okay, this particular boxes with some small boxes inside and with a red dot is a data set. Okay, and whenever we'll download or save this particular data in our computer, it will be saved as a .SAS extension. So let's suppose I'm opening this particular data. You can see this data is here and I'm closing. Okay, now let's suppose for some reason I am closing my SAS software. I'm closing my SAS software, and let me open my SAS software again. If I check libraries and I open work, that XYZ data is not present. It got disappeared. Okay, so from you can understand now that why it is called a temporary library, because whenever we are working in SAS software, your automatically your data will be saved in your work document, work library, and it will be present only during the session, and as soon as you close the session, your data is going to get deleted. Are you getting it? Any questions? Any doubts? Any questions? No? Okay. So let's move forward. Let's try to understand permanent library. Okay. There are two types of permanent library in SAS. One is SAS Help Library, and the another one is SAS User Library. Okay. Let's suppose we have this. Okay. Let's try to save some data in a permanent library. So for this, first, the syntax for saving the data here is libname. Okay. And you will be libref. You will enter your path here and semicolon. Okay. This is a simple syntax to create your library. Okay. So let me explain again in very one by one. I'll explain it. I'll simply write a statement that is known as libname. Okay, this is a keyword to create your own library. Okay, now I will name my library anything. Let's suppose I'm naming my library as SAS class. Okay, and I'll just write my I'll enter my path and I'll end it with a semicolon. Okay, path can be anything. Let's suppose I'm copying this path from here. I'll Control C and I'll paste it here. Okay, so I'll select and I'll execute this particular program. Okay, so if I open this, so I'm opening my SAS system again. Now you know why we call that library as a temporary library.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's start with our next library, that is permanent library. Okay, first of all, let's understand how to create a library in SAS. So a simple keyword for creating library in SAS is libname. Okay, and you will name your library and you will enter the path of your library. Okay, now let me explain you one by one. So first of all, you will write the keyword for your library, libname. Now you will name your library. It can be SAS. Let's suppose I'm naming my library SAS, or you can name your library as YGT or XYZ, ABC, whatever XYZ name you want to give to your library, just write down your name. Let's suppose I am here, I have named my library as ABC library. Now I will paste my path here and I will write a semicolon. I will end it with a semicolon. Okay. Let's suppose I have this particular folder that we created. If you remember, we created test folder on our desktop. Okay. On my computer's desktop, I have created a folder with the name of the folder is test. So I will simply copy it from here. The path I will copy and I'll paste it here. This is the path of a folder. Okay. So if as soon as I run this particular program and I check my log, what it says, libref ABC was successfully assigned as follows. Okay. And this is engine V9 and physical name of my library is this. Okay. So you can see here, if you will open this, if you open the library section, you can see one library is being created in ABC. Okay. So if you save this particular code, let's suppose you are saving this particular code as a library test, and I'm saving it, and let's close it. Okay, I'll end this session. Let me open my SAS again. So if you will check the library, okay, and if you open this particular program, sorry, if you will open library test, will open. You can see whenever you will be running this particular code, your library will appear. Okay. So it is mandatory to run your particular code so that your library is there. Okay. Let's suppose you are writing a particular program. Let's suppose you are writing data. Okay. And TLF semicolon, and you are writing input or just let me just paste the data from here. Okay, let's suppose this is my data students. Okay, input ID, name, age, gender, and marks. Okay, if I run this particular code and I'm running this particular code, it will be there in my students library. Okay, because this will automatically be saved by default in my work library. Okay, but let's suppose if I am assigning it as ABC, sorry, ABC dot students. Okay, now if I run this particular code, okay, if I run this particular code, you can see data ABC dot student has 10 observations and 5 variables. So if I go back in ABC, this this ABC will contain students data. Okay. So this is known as defining the location of a data set. Okay. We have the students data. Now we have defined the location of this particular data, that this data I want in my ABC library. So this is what we call it two-level naming of a library. Okay, let's suppose I want one more data here in my ABC data set. So what will I do? Let's suppose this is my data, say the ADSL data. Okay, and this is my data, subject ID, age, sex, and these are drugs, and this is safety. Now, if I write it here, like if I run this particular program, I'm not defining any library. If I run it here, it will automatically go where? In my work library, ADSL. Okay. But let me open my ABC here. As soon as I am defining a two-level name of a library, if I'm writing ABC dot, okay, and now if I run this particular code, my library will be, my data set will be present here in the library which I have created. Okay. Any questions, doubts here? No? Okay. So this is how you will create your own library, and you can save whatever data set you are working on your particular library. Okay. Now, let's suppose you already have some data in which you have some data sets already present. So let me open some data for you. You can see whatever data I am saving here in my this library in SAS is automatically getting displayed here because I have shared the location of this particular folder. Now let's come to our this SAS data. I'm coming here, sorry. ADM. Okay. So this is my Adam data. Okay. So what I want this particular data which is present on my computer to be to display on my SAS software. I want to bring that data so that I could work upon that particular data. Okay. So what I will do, I will copy this path. Okay. I will simply write lib name. Let's suppose I'm naming my library as ADA Adam. Okay. Now I am pasting my particular path and I am closing it with a semicolon. Okay. Library statements do not require any run statement for execution. It is a global statement. You need to remember it is a global statement. In our upcoming sessions, we will understand what are global statements. Okay. So let me run this particular code. See, automatically ADAM is there. So whatever data was present in Adam, it was in the form of SAS dataset form, SAS dataset, SAS dataset, SAS dataset is now present in your SAS software. Okay, so this is how you can create your own library. Okay, so we have two more libraries here, which is SAS Help and SAS User. Okay, if you open SAS Help Library, SAS User Library, you will find some data already present. Okay, and there is some SAS Help Library which contains so many data sets. So what are these libraries? Let's try to understand. Okay, let's suppose this data, this is your data. Let me paste one more data here. This is your lab data. Okay, this is your lab data. And you can just, you are simply writing SAS user dot lab. Okay, you can see SAS user have some data sets. Okay, if you run this particular code, your lab data set will be here because you have defined SAS user with the library name and dot lab is your data set name. Okay, you can see your data is present here. Okay, let me save this particular thing and let's close the library. Okay, now let's open SAS again and let's open the libraries and let's open SAS user. Okay, you can see your the data set you created in SAS user is present. It is not getting deleted when we close the program. When the data was being saved in SAS work library, the data got deleted. But when it is being saved in your SAS user library, your data is not getting deleted. Okay, so sometimes when you do not want to create a library, but you are working in your SAS program, you want that data to be permanently present. In that case, you can enter, you can save your data set in your SAS user library simply by defining the location and the dataset name. Okay, so this is the reason this is known as SAS user library is known as a permanent library. Any questions, doubts? No? Shall I move forward? Okay. Now let's start with our next library, that is SAS Help Library. Okay. Okay. Let's come to SAS Help Library. See, SAS Help Library is a library which is predefined, which is already present in your SAS system by default. Okay. It does contain some sample data sets, okay, for practice purpose, or there are some system related information in your SAS Help Library. Okay. So if you open your SAS Help Library, you will find that already there are some data sets present in your SAS Help Library. So let's suppose I am opening this particular data set fish. So this is a data. So while practicing on SAS software, you can use this particular data. Okay, but this is a read-only library. You cannot do any editing work in your SAS help library. You can never edit these data sets. Okay, and there are some extra data sets present for which are system related and which do contain some information about your SAS software. And so those data sets and information is important for the smooth running of your SAS software. And you can see these folders with a red dot. These are known as catalog. These are data sets and these are catalogs. Okay. Catalogs are nothing but they are a collection of some important data. Just like we have, folders which contain some data. Now let's come to this how can you extract, you can use this SAS Help Library data for data manipulation. Okay. Let's suppose you are creating a data and the name of the data is you can create class 10. This is your dataset name. Okay. What you are doing, you want to extract this particular data, this particular data set you want to use for your data analysis or data manipulation purpose. So you will simply use a set statement. We will understand what is set statement in our upcoming session. I am trying to make you understand why we use our SAS Help Library. So there is another statement which is known as set statement. So I will simply write it as set. Okay. So I will call this particular data set for editing or manipulation purpose. So I will simply write SAS help dot class semicolon and run. Okay, let's open our work library. Here, you can see as soon as I'm running this particular code, there is a data set created in SAS work library, because this is a permanent library and we are working on this particular data permanent. Okay. If you want this data to be saved in your SAS user library, what will you do? Okay, I'm writing this code here so that you will be able to differentiate between these two codes. You will simply write SAS user dot. Okay, let's open SAS user. This is SAS user library. As soon as I'm executing this particular code, see, one more data set is being created. Okay. So from where I took this data? I took this data from SAS Help. Okay. And now whatever I want to do with manipulation analysis I want to do, I can do on this particular data set. Okay. Now, let's suppose I'm doing this again so that it will give you a better understanding. I'm closing this particular SAS. I'm doing I'm not saving the changes even. If I'm opening this particular software and I'm opening libraries and I'm opening user, see your class 10th lab dataset is present in your SAS user. Okay, but if you will go to your work library, there is no data present. This is the reason your SAS work library is known as a temporary library. SAS user is a permanent library. Whatever data you'll be saving in your SAS user will be saved for permanently. And SAS help is also a permanent library but this is a read-only library. You can only read some data. Okay. Let me open that particular code again. We'll be working on this. Okay. Now, there is another way by which you can create a library. You just bring your cursor here, right click on it and click on new. Okay. You can name your library, whatever name you want to give. You can define the path of the library or you can browse wherever you want to create your library. You can create your library on your desktop also or any place in your PC, D drive, E drive, and you just enter your path. Okay. And as soon as you will click OK, your library will be created. Okay. But one thing you have to make sure, before creating your library like this, you have to click on this particular box, enable at startup. Okay. So whenever, let's suppose you have created that RBC library and you have defined the path as well. Okay. Here you have defined the path and you have enabled at the startup. So once you click on this particular icon, this particular box, whenever you will be, starting your SAS software, your program, that library by default will be present over here. Okay, you will not have to run the program or anything. By default, that particular library will start running. So this was all about SAS libraries. If you have any questions, just let me know. You can take your time, just look at these codes. And if you do not understand anything, just let me. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I skipped this particular topic. Let's come to on naming our SAS library. Okay, see, let's suppose I told you that here you will name your library. Okay, there are some rules for naming your library. So these are your rules. I'm pasting it here so that you could read. Okay. Your first rule is your maximum character length for SAS library should be 8 characters. Okay. Let's suppose I have this particular library and let's not store it in SAS user. I will delete this. Okay. And I am naming this library as Dr. B. Lal Path Lab. Okay. And sorry. Let's suppose this is my library statement. Sorry, I got confused. So here, let's suppose you are naming this library is Doctor Prescription Data, and you are trying to execute this particular code. Let's check log. Doctor Prescription Data is not a valid SAS name. So if I check here, let me close this window. You can check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Here 8 ends. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. These are 22 characters. If I remove these and I keep it until 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now if I run the code, my library got created. Okay. But earlier it was showing me error because the library name was more than 8 character long. This is the first rule of naming your library. Second rule is your name should start with a letter or an underscore. Okay. If you are naming your library as this, okay, you are here you are entering a numeric. Okay. And now you run this particular library, it will again show an error. If you check the log, 8 is not a valid SAS name. Okay. And it will not create it. But if you enter an underscore, and now if you run it, your library got created. Okay. So either you can keep underscore here on the starting or in between. Okay. You can start this with the uppercase letter, with the lowercase letter. Doesn't matter. Okay. Now, next is your library can contain numbers or underscores, but not at the beginning. Okay. These letters should not, so these numbers should not be at the beginning. If you are naming it as one, how many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if you run this particular code, see, your library got created and it is successfully being created. But earlier, it was showing you an error when you are keeping your number 8 on the beginning. Okay. So this is your third rule. Fourth rule is no spaces are allowed. You should not enter any space in your library name. Okay. And these library names are case sensitive. You should remember these, that your library names are case sensitive. Okay. And this library should be unique within a session. You cannot create same library name until and unless you want to work in that particular library and you want to save that particular data set in that particular library. Okay. So I hope these are some rules you are able to understand. Sometimes questions can come. They can put up question from this particular session. So you should know that what are the rules for naming a library. So let's come to our questions again. So this is our question. What of the following is a valid name for naming a library? Can start with a number, can contain spaces, must start with letter or underscore, can include special characters. Okay. So these are some questions related to your library, your topic today. So you guys log in onto your study portal and just try to solve this question. So tomorrow, if you have any questions related to this topic, just let me know. This is an important topic because in real life also, when you will be working as a SAS programmer, you will be creating many libraries and they can put up questions